So I've experienced a hint of racism 2 days in a row. Yeah. I went to the hospital the other day. And well, I went to the hospital with my daughter the other day. And as they were doing the exam, they were like, you know what? We need to take a blood test. So we're going to send you to the third floor. You're going to see the doctor. They're going to explain everything to you. Okay. We go to the third floor. The nurse comes and starts setting up to take the blood test. And there's probably like maybe 3 or 4 tubes of blood that they're going to take. Right? And she doesn't say anything to us. So I'm like, well, what's the blood for? So she's telling us, oh, we're just checking to make sure that, that there's no infection or, anything like that. We're like, okay. So she's humming some kind of song in her head, whatever, doing her thing. Takes the blood test. She leaves. Okay. Probably like maybe 10 minutes later, a couple comes in, and that couple sits down on the bed or whatever, the bed next to us. And the same nurse comes in and she's going to do tests on this and on the woman. But the woman didn't have to ask her what the blood test was for. She went in deep into conversation about what it's for, what it's going to do, asking her questions about her baby, how you're going to spell the name, all these things. Okay? That's one. 2, we went to the grocery store early in the morning, and we are about to put our food on the conveyor belt. The cashier doesn't even say good morning to us, doesn't even look at us, just starts scanning shit. And her face looks like she's disgusted. Okay? And then I look at her and I'm like, oh, are we having a bad morning? And she's like, yeah, I'm just like really tired. I'm trying to conserve my energy. So, I'm just really tired. I'm like, okay. In my mind, I'm like, this is customer service. You're here to serve your customers. It is freaking 8 o'clock in the morning. Say hello. But I digress. Then there was a lady that was behind us because we were finished, and she started putting her groceries on the conveyor belt. And the cashier, good morning, and started asking her questions and talking to her and saying to her, oh my God, I used to love these grapes. And I looked at the cashier and I'm like, oh, are we conserving her energy? I tell you, the things that we have to put up with sometimes and just kind of like let it be.
So I have a story, and I was racial profiled at TD Bank. So what happened was I went into the bank and I went to go deposit a check. Now, money's been a little low lately, but that's okay. Things happen. And I go to deposit my insurance check, and the lady goes, I said, I'm just here to deposit a check. She goes, are you the holder of the check? And I was like, yeah, right? And then she goes, is it an insurance check? And I was like, light bulb. And I was like, why does this matter? Why does this matter? And then she goes, well, we're just making sure for security reasons, and da-da-da-da. And I was like, I've never been treated like this in the 5 years I've been here. I've never been asked those questions. So clearly she is racial profiling me. And no, she was not white. She appeared to be Indian. So remember, racism and prejudice and racial profiling doesn't happen just from white people. Anyway, so then when I started being like, this is not okay, like I've never been asked those questions, she's like, oh, well, I'm doing it for security reasons, as I mentioned before. And I was like, well, I've never been asked those questions. And she started getting an attitude with me. So then I almost left the bank, and I was like, nah. I spoke to the manager, and it took some time to speak to her because obviously she spoke to her coworker, or not her coworker, her employee first. And I was talking to her and I was like, okay, like this is what happened. And she's like, okay, well, we're inclusive at TD and da-da-da. And I was trying to tell her like, but I've never been asked those questions. Like clearly this is something wrong. So we had a discussion. I think the manager was cool, but I think ultimately she was just trying to de-escalate the situation. But watch out, guys, and it was in Toronto, like, and it's like there's so many people like, just stop.
Now, many a times that black people go through a lot especially in abroad and in these countries in UK, in Canada, in United States. And these are the problems and challenges that they go through, but silently they battle with it, and no one recognizes until they air their voices out and stand at the front, demanding for their rights. No one stands with them, regardless of them standing with many groups to fight injustices that happen to many people. And so these are just confessions of many blacks who are living in those spaces, and they've have encountered racism at one point in their life, and they really felt a hell here on earth. I want us to be watching the videos that I've just compiled here for you, and later on I'll be sharing my commentary regarding the same. Do share your thoughts concerning it. Tell me what you think about it, and if you as yourself, have you ever encountered such at one point? Share your thoughts in the comment section. I'll be right back to share my commentary. And don't forget to subscribe.
26 years of working, and then anytime there was a special project like lifting, he always chose the black ladies. And I hurt myself by lifting a box, and I couldn't stop bleeding. I had to go to emergency. They thought that I was having a miscarriage. I wasn't having a miscarriage. My doctor had to pull me out from work. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I have to say thanks to my doctor. I don't know if I call his name, but he saved my life by putting me off work. It affected my mental health and my physical health. I was there. I worked with CRA 38 years, and I was forced out of a job that I dedicated my life for. I had people that were like my family. That's how close we are. But being forced out of there was a devastation, and it really affected my life and my staff, that many of them felt they had to leave when I was forced out, and that's how bad it was. I don't want to see that happening ever again to people remaining with CRA. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here to fight for justice and to fight for those remaining, to provide a better environment where people can feel accepted, respected, and to basically represent the government the way it should be done.
I'm Dr. Alain Moussende. I'm highly qualified, highly respected within and outside Health Canada. I am perfectly bilingual. Je parle français et anglais couramment. Mais malgré ça, despite all of that, I'm being discriminated against, including violation of my charter right, and they are bullying me, or at least attempting to bully me. This is not acceptable. Public servants should have a healthy dose of humility and gratitude because they're being paid by Canadian taxpayers, including mine.
I really don't like talking about racism here in Canada, but I really need to talk about what happened yesterday. So I was in a group of 7 different Africans, and we went into a restaurant. I literally were 7 in number. And then we're asked to sit down. You know how they come in and tell you fully well that, hey, you're welcome, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden the girls just said, are you guys going to be here? Like, we're seated amongst the white people. And the lady said, are you guys going to be here till 7? Because we have a guest of about 7 in number, and they already budgeted to sit down here. So it's either you eat and leave before 7, or we move you into a different room. No problem. And so we just said, you know what, just to keep things simple, we just moved into that other room. And then we were there till like 7:30. And let me even pause a little bit. Like 10 minutes after we left, somebody else moved in, and like this was like 5:30 p.m. Somebody else moved into that seat, and they sat down there waiting. And we finished at 7:30. We found out that the same people that took our space at 5:30 were still there. And I went to question the girl, and I'm like, excuse me, why is it that these people are still here? Why are they still here? But you bumped us into another room. Is there a problem? Like, seriously? And she just said, no, not really. It's just that the other... And I'm like, okay, whatever. I knew she was lying. And guess what? The food was terrible. Very, very, very poor. I think they did that intentionally because we were the only Africans there. I don't know why this happens in Canada. They should stop. It's upsetting. Like, it's crazy, it's annoying, it's irritating. You guys should stop. Like, stop. The color of my skin, of our skin, is the same blood, red. So stop. Deal with the fact that we're blacks. And you know what? Black don't crack. Excuse me? The name of this place is Malt and Barley in Kitchener, Fisher Hallman. Like, you guys should get your acts together. You guys, I'm going to give you a terrible, terrible review. Seriously. I mean it.
Hello guys, welcome back again. And these are just the silent, battles that blacks have been going through in these countries. Guys, when black people in Canada specifically open up about experiencing racism, I would say it dismantles the myth that Canada is some kind of racism-free safe haven. Many outsiders picture Canada as the kinder version of North America, where equality is the norm and discrimination is minimal. But upon seeing these videos, and I felt like I needed to share them out so that people can see when black voices shared their experiences, their lived realities, in these spaces, in during these videos that I shared here, it kinda made me feel so bad. I really felt them. I really felt the cry that they have in their hearts, just because of their color, they're being discriminated. The system is just against them. And upon seeing those videos, that illusion has faded, and the raw truth of systemic racism has just come to light. Canada, to be specific, just like the US, has a history deeply tied to colonialism, slavery, and segregation, even if it is often brushed under the rug. Black communities in Nova Scotia, for example, carry generations of struggle tied to displacement, land theft, and systemic exclusion. And so when modern day black people say they face racism in schools, in workplaces, and everyday interactions, I would say it is not, an isolated occurrence, but it's a part of a long and unbroken chain of injustice that these people keep on experiencing. You can see even the pain that these individuals express is twofold. First, they do endure the direct wounds of racism, being profiled by police, being denied opportunities, or hearing racist slurs. Second, they face the frustration of being told it's not that bad here, or Canada is multicultural. Guys, that gaslighting deepens the trauma because it silences the very people experiencing the oppression. And what stands out in their testimonies is the subtlety of Canadian racism compared to the often overt forms in the United States. In Canada, it can be hidden behind politeness, professional smiles, and coded language. But a black person might not be called a slur, but but they will be overlooked for promotions, questioned about their qualifications or followed in stores. And guys, this kind of covert racism is equally damaging because it denies black people dignity while pretending equality exists among people. And many black youth in Canada speak about being targeted disproportionately in schools. Teachers label them as troublemakers, and suspensions are higher and expectations are lower. And so when children internalize this, it creates a cycle of self-doubt, anger, and alienation that carries into adulthood. Their potential is, robbed, not by a lack of talent, but by systemic bias. Look at even the police encounters, mentioned in these videos. They are particularly alarming. Black Canadians are stopped, questioned, and searched far more often than their white counterparts. Carding, a controversial practice where police randomly stop people and record their information, disproportionately affects black people, and this criminalizes their very existence and makes them feel like strangers in the country they call home. This is their home. They work hard just to make sure that Canada, as their home country, has enough taxes, to support their livelihoods there, to, improve their infrastructure. So they take it as a home. But it's very ironical and very sad to see that they face racism, systemic racism and oppression, even just after working so hard to make Canada have that, that beautiful name and, that beautiful status that it has. And so, guys, I see you've also seen that workplace racism also emerges repeatedly in these stories. Black professionals speak of being undermined, excluded from networking opportunities, or passed over for leadership positions. And even sometimes they are hired to show diversity, but are kept in token roles without real influence. That psychological toll of always having to prove oneself in system tilted against you, it's very heavy, and I believe you can also tell it's very, very heavy to these people. The mental health aspect, cannot be ignored here. Facing racism daily chips away at a person's sense of worth. Depression, anxiety, and burnout are common outcomes here. Yet, the stigma around mental health in many immigrant and black communities often prevents people from seeking help. And so, guys, this creates silent suffering that few outsiders the community even recognize. And these testimonies, I would say, also show how racism operates beyond individuals. You can see it is embedded in institutions, from banks denying loans to black entrepreneurs, to landlords refusing to rent to black families, to healthcare providers dismissing black patients' pain. Systemic racism restricts access to resources that are very essential for thriving for the black people. During back on the days, racism was only experienced where you you get to see it directly. But right now, it has worn a suit, and it is also having an office. It is also having workers to make sure that its impact, it's really, really felt. And unless someone is very keen to watch it out, he might not see, or he might not, identify it as racism. He will think that, it's misfortune, or, it's a way of doing things. Yet it isn't. It's just a way of, suppressing the black people, the black community. And, guys, back to it, a powerful part of these videos is the courage it takes for black people to speak up. Silence is often safer, because calling out racism can lead to backlash, disbelief, or even job loss. For them to share their stories publicly, I would say it's an act of resistance, because it forces Canada to confront the truths it tries to hide under a glossy image of inclusivity. But also, those videos also reveal resilience despite all the barriers. Black Canadians continue to build communities, celebrate culture, and achieve excellence in every field. Their success is not evidence that racism doesn't exist, but rather proof of how hard they've had to fight against the odds. We must also address how immigrants from Africa and the Caribbean who come to Canada in search of better opportunities are blindsided by racism. Many expect freedom. Many also expect fairness. But when they come here, they are confronted with barriers they didn't imagine that they were there. And this is heartbreaking because it betrays their hopes and sacrifices. I'd love you guys to, if you've watched this video, you've heard me to this, up to this point, please do share these videos to many people as possible, that you may feel that they need to watch this out. And also share even to those who've not watched it, so that it can, get to many people, and so that this we can create awareness to all this, so that people may not come blindly thinking that it's a walk in the park, but so that they can also be ready to get there. So do share this content, do share it with many people as possible. Now let's get back to it. These experiences, I would say, highlights the danger of the model minority myth. Some Canadians point to successful black figures, athletes, politicians, artists as a proof that racism is over. No, it's not over. And you can really tell. And for those who've been in Canada and those who've experienced life there, they can really tell that it's not yet over. But one person's success does not erase the systemic oppression faced by millions. That I would definitely say for sure. It's like putting a bandage on a deep wound and pretending that healing has taken place, yet that wound is, swollen, and it's also, getting to a worse condition than it was. So you'd rather treat it instead of wrapping it just to cover it. That's why I'm talking about this. Yes, we must talk about it. it is important to note that racism in Canada does not exist in isolation from global anti-blackness, whether in the US, Europe, or the Caribbean. Black people face similar structures of exclusion. Canada is simply another chapter in this wider struggle. So, recognizing this global context gives the testimonies more weight. They are part of a shared, painful reality. So, the videos also challenge Canadians who are not black to reflect. Too often, non-black citizens stay silent, benefit from the privilege, or dismiss black pain. True allyship requires listening. It requires believing and also acting towards, things, towards something of substance, something that can be seen. These testimonies are not just personal stories, they are not personal stories. They are calls to responsibility for all Canadians, regardless of any race. And one can't ignore how the education system itself erases black contributions to Canada. Few Canadians learn about black loyalists, Africville, or long fight against slavery in their schools. By not teaching this history, Canada creates, ignorance that allows racism to persist without being checked. So, guys, listening to these voices is uncomfortable, but discomfort is necessary. I do say that most of my time, that it's out of that discomfort that you realize there's something that is wrong somewhere and needs fixing. Change does not come from denial or sugarcoating reality. It comes from facing the raw pain, acknowledging the truth, and also working collectively to dismantle racist systems. Sorry for that. At the heart of these testimonies is a simple, human demand, and that's a dignity. Black people are not asking for favors or special treatment. I would say they're demanding to be seen, They are demanding their efforts to be seen, their efforts to be valued, and, be treated as equals in the land they contribute daily. They work tirelessly to support these countries. They work tirelessly. They believe they are part of that country. They believe they are part of the economy, and they are part of everything good that happens there because they are not excluded when taxes are being paid. They are not excluded when they do wrong. If they do wrong, they go through the same punishment, and maybe sometimes a harsh punishment than anyone else. So what they're demanding is equality, equity. That's what they're demanding. They're demanding to be, heard, their voices to be seen, and be treated as people of value. That is not too much to ask. It is the minimum standard of humanity. And as you know me, I'm always preaching the gospel of humanity. I'm always speaking of humanity. This is what we need to have so that, we can love each other, care for each other, regardless of how we look or how our skin color is. Guys, Canada likes, to present itself as a leader in human rights and diversity on the global stage. But these testimonies exposes the gap between that image that we are given by Canada and the reality in Canada. And until Canada confronts its internal racism with honesty and action, its claims of equality will remain hollow. And I would say these are just my humble and honest remarks. I believe you've had a good time while watching this and listening to me, and I would also want to have a chance to learn from you. You think that if you feel that like you have something that you want us to know as people in general, the viewers here, me personally, please don't shy off from putting down in the comment section what you think about this and your views concerning this. Do you think that racism is very real, or these people that I've just presented here, they're just talking of something they are not sure of, because I'm speaking from point of hearing them. So do share your comments and thoughts so that we can get to learn from you and someone else can get to learn from your side. And I believe at the end of the day we will learn. We'll also relearn what we need to relearn, and also unlearn some of the things that we need to unlearn. Each and every day we need to grow in terms of information. We need to grow intellectually. So it's out of that comment that you will place there that we'll get to learn much about this concept. I've been your presenter, Shadrach, and please do share this content so that it can get to many people as possible, so that it can get to learn from it. If there's any criticism, it's good. People do think differently, I believe so, and we may have different and varying views, and we can view stuffs or matter in different angles, and all that is allowed because that's being human. We are very diverse and we can think differently, and that's the beauty of humanity. So you're allowed to share your thoughts in here and comment. We'll be glad to get to hear from you. Do subscribe to our channel. Don't leave without subscribing. Please do subscribe if you've not yet subscribed. Like our content, and man, we're grateful for you being here, for you listening up to this very end. Yeah, we're very much grateful, and thank you so much also for your subscription. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for also sharing this content. I'm really hoping to be seeing you in my next video. I'll be posting these videos daily, so don't miss out. Let me see you as you see me later on in my next video. But until then, stay safe, support a brother, support a sister. Remember, humanity is what we profess here. Humanity is what we preach here. So all that is humanity. Supporting, loving each other, caring for each other. Here we all talk about justice for humanity. We don't seclude anyone. Justice for every person, whether white or black, but most specifically the affected one, which is the black people, the black community. So don't forget to extend a hand of help to that person who needs it. Extend a hand of care to that person who really needs it. Goodbye, my people. Let me see you then as you see me.